Hi, I'm Brittney Saunders and welcome to Big Business, the place where business is far from boring, and today I'm recording on Gadigal land. Now, I somehow managed to build an empire from the garage underneath my house, and I'm here to share it all with you, from the wins, the huge mistakes, the challenging times and funny moments in between. So whether you're in business already, wanting to start, or even not in the game at all, and you're just looking for some inspiration or you simply want to hear the tea, this is the podcast for you. Coming up in today's episode, I'm going to be answering one of the most commonly asked questions that I get in my DMs. How do you even start a business anyway? What's the first step, and how do you know what needs to be done exactly? Sometimes actually taking that first step can be too daunting that most people don't ever actually take it. In today's episode, I'm going to be taking you through all of those steps, but also through a series of questions that I'd ask myself before starting any business. Now, as you all know, I started my business journey when I was a well-known influencer. So I'm going to be sharing my insights into what I'd do if I was starting a new business today with 0 followers, which is a reality for most. Anyway, time is money, so let's get down to business. Hey Britt, I'm really wanting to start a business, but I have no idea where to actually start. Hey Britt, I have this really great business idea, but I don't know what I'm doing. Can I pick your brain one day? Can you help me? I get questions like this often in my DMs, and I guess I have a few thoughts and feelings about it. Firstly, I love that people think of me when it comes to wanting to start a business. Like, what a bloody compliment. And the funny thing is about that, people come to me asking for advice, but I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I still feel like a 30-year-old teenage girl. I'm still trying to work this out myself. Why are you coming to me for advice? I've had so many people ask me if I'd ever be a business coach or a mentor. And every time I get that question, I'm like, really? Like me? I still feel like I'm figuring this all out for myself, but maybe one day. But I think the good thing with this podcast is I feel like with this, I'm going to be your unofficial business coach and mentor in a podcast form. Secondly, and this could be controversial, but I'm going to say it, no one is going to tell you how to start your business, because that's completely missing the point of starting a business. If you're wanting someone to go, okay, we'll do this first and then do that, etc., etc., why are you starting your own business? You need to be confident in yourself and be confident and open to learning and educating yourself. That's quite literally the whole point of starting your own business. So by now, you've learned that I myself have had to learn everything when it came to starting Fate. It's honestly one of the best parts of the journey, figuring it all out every single step of the way from the very beginning. You simply can't have this dream of wanting to start a business, but then not have the energy to want to figure out how to actually start it. Which leads me to my next thought. When people are reaching out to me and asking me these questions like, hey Britt, I want to start this business idea that I have. Can you help me out? Can I sit down with you? I think for a lot of people, these questions they're really asking me are more along the lines of, hey Britt, I have this business idea that I really want to do, but I'm scared. I'm worried what people will say. I'm doubting myself, and I don't think I'm good enough to do it. I think that's what people mean when they come to me. They're not actually wanting me to say, well, you need to do this, this, and that. I think maybe they're looking for a little more reassurance, or they're doubting themselves. So, how do you start a business? It's actually quite simple, and it's so simple that you could go onto Google right now and say, hey Google, how do I start a business in Australia? And you will find hundreds, if not thousands, of articles, blogs, community forums, the lot, with a step-by-step guide of all the things that you physically need to do in order to get started. I heard someone say the other day that taking the first step in business is always so embarrassingly small that most people don't take it, because it's that small of a step. Now, there's one thing that I'm a massive fan of, it's ChatGPT, which, by the way, if you aren't using ChatGPT for your business or your life in general, you need to get onto it. You could even jump onto ChatGPT and be super specific with it and say, hey, ChatGPT, I'm wanting to start a cake decorating business. How do I get started? And the cool thing about ChatGPT is as well, I have it on my phone. You can get the mobile app, but I love using it on my computer. It feels better. It's like one of those things that works better on your computer is you can have little conversations going with it. Like on the side, you'll see there's a bunch of tabs and you can theme them. And then every time you go back to ChatGPT in that one conversation and you keep asking it questions, it learns who you are and what you're talking about more and more. So you can jump on ChatGPT and say, hey, ChatGPT, I'm a fashion brand in Australia. This is our name. Here's our website. This is what we do. Then ChatGPT will always remember that about you. And then you can go back and keep asking it questions. It can be something as simple as, hey, ChatGPT, I'm opening a store and I'm wanting a open and close checklist for my staff to do for my fashion retail store. Can you please write a 20-step open and close general checklist for my retail staff to do? Boom, 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 boom. It will give you the whole list. And then you can take that list, you can change it up. You can even ask ChatGPT to redo it. Sometimes I'll get it to write me things. I'll say, write that, but make it more simplified, or write that, but make it more friendly. Like, it's the most amazing tool. And the fact that it's 2024 and we have something like that, I just absolutely love it. I can't rave about it enough, and it saves you so much time so you can focus on doing the things that really matter. Having things such as Google and ChatGPT quite literally at our fingertips is one of the most amazing tools you'll ever be able to use in your business journey. How do you honestly think I've learned everything I know about starting and running Fate? Google. Google, as well as, like what I mentioned in last week's episode, making 99 mistakes until I got it right the 100th time. And just to remind you, I don't have a degree. I never went to TAFE. I never did any study for business. I've learned everything myself simply from the internet and from trial and error. And it just goes to show you don't need all these fancy things on paper to be truly successful. Now, when it comes to starting a business, by all means, go ahead and do all the things that you feel like you want to do before you get started. You can get all of the advice that you can off everyone you know. You can talk to your friends who own businesses. You can join community groups on Facebook. I'm in a bunch of those. You can do research on any type of forum that you can find. You can watch all the YouTube videos and TikTok videos there are. You could spend hours on LinkedIn. You can network with people. You can listen to business podcasts. You can pay to go and see seminars and talks and do programs. You can get yourself a coach or mentor. You can do someone's short course. The amount of things that you can actually do before starting your business is almost exhausting and endless. But at the end of the day, if you're doing all of these things before even starting, I guess you've got to stop and ask yourself, are you getting much out of these things, or are you just stalling? In my opinion, the best way to start is simply by just starting. Take that first embarrassingly small step. So, what would I personally do if I was starting a new business myself today? One of the things I didn't do with Fate was have a solid business plan. But wait, how do I write a business plan? That sounds so intense. My friend, have you learnt nothing in this episode so far? Ask ChatGPT or Google, trust me. When I started Fate, as you know by now, it was just another silly little idea of mine. I didn't have some grand business plan. I didn't have a plan for anything, my marketing, my brand mission, nothing. Fate wasn't this big idea of mine when I started, and I guess it all just so happened to work out well for me. For a bit of insight into Fate, if you look at us now, we are this huge fashion brand with thousands of customers. We have sizes 6 through to size 26. We have 4 retail stores. We've got hundreds of thousands of followers online, and we do videos every week that get millions of views across all of our social platforms. Fate was minuscule in my mind when I started, and I think that just goes to show, sure, if I started a business again, I'd definitely have some sort of business plan or goals, but also where you start isn't where you'll always end up. If I had told me back then I'd be doing what I'm doing now, I'd say no bloody way. Like, there's no chance. I think a lot of people may feel pressure to have it all together and know exactly what they want to do with this business and where they want to take it and how big they want it to be. But this just shows with my story, you don't have to have all these crazy goals and know exactly what you're doing. You just have to start. Now, in this episode, I am going to be giving you some step-by-step guides of exactly what you need to do. But I'm going to start out with this first one. When it comes to starting a business, be prepared to spend a shit ton of money. Now, this is different depending on what kind of business you're doing. There's no two businesses that would cost the exact same amount to start. You could start a business at home painting key rings, and obviously that's going to be like a lot more low of a cost business to start compared to if you want to open a cafe. Like, you can't compare apples and oranges when it comes to starting a business. But starting a business costs money. And even once you've started it, the spending doesn't stop there. The further that you get into your business journey, the more and more expensive it becomes. So my first thing would be mindful that this thing is going to cost you money. Now, as for me, how did I afford to start Fate? For those of you that don't know, and something that people are often impressed about, like other people I meet in business, is that I have completely bootstrapped Fate, which means I have funded the entire thing out of my own back pocket. I've never gotten a loan. I don't have investors. I haven't gotten any money given to me from family, nothing. I've done it all myself. And the way that I did that was I had money saved from when I was an influencer that I used to start Fate. Now, because I didn't have any plans when I started Fate, I didn't know that I should really take note of how much money I was spending on everything when I was getting started. But I know for a fact that I think I stopped counting at about $50,000. Now, before taking that first step, I think it's also important to ask yourself these questions. Number one, why am I starting this business in the first place? It's easy to want to start a business because it looks fun and cool on social media. I think a lot of people may have the idea in their mind that it'll be so fun and easy and you can be your own boss and take days off whenever you want and kick your feet up. So ask yourself, why am I actually doing this? What is the actual reason that I'm wanting to do this in the first place? Why would I ask myself that question? I just think starting a business is a lot bigger of a deal than some people think, and especially on social media, and I can blame myself here. I make it look fun, easy, cool. Oh my God, that looks amazing. I want to do that. And so people can have this idea in their head of, yeah, I'm going to start my own business. But I think it's just important to understand what you're getting yourself into and having a clear understanding of, why am I actually doing this? Am I prepared for this? Or is it just this little 5-minute idea I've had right now? I feel like we can be very impulsive sometimes. I know I'm an impulsive person, and luckily, even though I impulsively started Fate, it turns out that I actually love doing what I do. I think it's just important to take a good look at why you are starting this business. The second question you'll want to ask yourself is, what problem am I solving? Identifying a clear pain point for your business, product or service, whatever it is vital, because every business should realistically be able to solve their customer's problem. For me, with Fate, our problem we solve is that we take the pain out of shopping for clothes that actually fit. By identifying your pain problem for your customers, you'll then be able to use that in all of your future marketing and your brand mission. Every single business, every single product, every single service solves someone's problem. And if you can identify the problem that you're solving, you're then also identifying who your customers are, because they are the customers that have that problem. You could even be selling art. You could be doing artworks and selling them, and people go, well, what pain problem am I solving there? Do you live in a rental home and you want to jazz up your room, but you obviously can't do any works? Here's one of my artworks. This will completely transform your space. Like, there's a problem that art is solving. And it doesn't matter what it is. Every single product and every single business solves someone's problem. It's really important to understand that. With us, do you hate shopping for jeans? Do you find that they never fit right? Maybe they're too tight in one area and then they're ill-fitting in another, and you can't sit down in them because you feel like you're getting chopped in half. Well, you need to try Fate jeans, because they will absolutely change your life. That is our pain problem with Fate, and we use it all the time. And the thousands of reviews that we have across our jeans will show you that we have identified that pain point for our customers and we have solved it for them. Now, there's 5 billion other things that you can ask yourself before starting a business. Honestly, I could be here all day. You can look into your risk tolerance of your business. You can look at your entire business model, identify what sets your business apart from the rest. You can understand your target market. But I'll leave you with this really important one. Am I ready for this commitment? Building any successful business takes a lot of time. Not just now in this moment, this week when you're feeling like doing it, not the next few weeks, not the next few months. I'm talking years and years and years. Is this idea that you're dreaming of something you can see yourself genuinely doing for years to come? Can you picture whatever this thing is that you're doing now, are you still going to be wanting to do it in 3 years' time? I recently saw Stephen Bartlett's A Diary of a CEO's live show the other week, and he said something that really stood out to me, and I wrote it down in my phone. I think it was a quote that he had heard from someone that he had on his podcast, but it was along the lines of, chase after your dreams, but only if you're good at them. He then went on to talk about when you were in school and just say you were top of the class for English, but then you got a D in maths. It would only ever make sense for you to continue to pursue English because that's what you were really good at and you could become even better and amazing at it. Sure, you could continue pursuing maths even though you weren't good at it. You could try to get better at maths only to get a C. So I guess the same thing can apply for business. Chase after that dream, but it's going to be a hell of a lot easier for you if it's something that you're naturally good at. When I started Fate, again, I didn't think, is this something I'm genuinely good at? I think I had a lot of false confidence, which was great at the time. I didn't ask myself, do I want to do this for the long haul? I guess for me, I'm just lucky that it turned out I was good at running a business. Imagine if I wasn't, or if I hated it, or if I fucking sucked at it. So if I was starting again, I'd definitely be asking that question to myself to ensure this was something I genuinely wanted to do. So you've asked yourself the important questions. We've got your business idea. You know exactly what it is that you want to do, and you know that you definitely want to do it. Where to next? Now, I'm going to give you a checklist of things that you physically need to do, but again, I want to give you this heads up and warning. You can honestly get this information off Google. This is not life-changing information. This is just my checklist, but you can find this shit on Google. But if you want to hear it from me, your business mentor, I'm going to give it to you. The first point, we'll start with number one. You're obviously going to want to have a name for your business. Now, when I started Fate, I think I was around 24 when I started planning Fate. I planned Fate a year before it launched. So remember that it's going to take a long bloody time and a lot of people give up in that development phase. Another thing that I'm currently working on at the moment is we're doing a sub-beauty brand of Fate and we're formulating our own lip oils. And it's called Glazy. It's no secret. I've been talking about it on my social media. We have been working on these lip oils for nearly 2 years. And in the last 2 years, I've wanted to throw the towel in a million times. But this is what you do in business. You've got to realize nothing good happens in 2 seconds. So be prepared to spend time on this stuff. Now, when I was naming Fate, I was in my early 20s. I had no idea what to do when it came to naming a business. But all I knew for me personally was that I didn't want to put my name in the business name. I had my spray tanning business back in my teenage days and I did call that Beauty and Tans by Brittney. Didn't work out very well. There are some really successful businesses in the world that have the owner's name in it. For example, Tom Ford, Charlotte Tilbury. But I think we've got to be realistic. Are we going to be the next Charlotte Tilbury? I don't know. That name has a ring to it. Imagine if I called my brand Brittney Saunders the label. I don't think we'd be where we are today. But what I did was I sat down. I was living in Melbourne at the time with my ex-boyfriend, and I pulled up a note in my phone and I just started writing down words that I liked. Something that meant something to me, words I liked the sound of. All I knew was I don't want my name in this. And I'm so glad that I did that. And I landed on the name, well, the word Fate, but spelt normally F-A-T-E. And I had a list. I don't remember what the other names were, but I kept going back to Fate. And I was like, I really like that. It's short, it's snappy, it's like one thing, it's memorable. Let's go with Fate. Now, so many people have asked me over the years, why do you spell it differently? 24-year-old me had no clue when it came to copyright or trademarking or anything, but I remember thinking to myself, I better spell it different, just in case someone comes after me. Surely I can't use the original spelling for the word Fate. So that's where the Y came into Fate. Once you've got your business name, you're going to register the business name through the ABR, which is the Australian Business Registry. You can jump on there at any point. It's a government website. It's free to look at, and you can search up businesses. You can check to make sure that no one else has that business name within the same sort of category as you. Of course, there are hundreds of businesses in Australia that all have the same name, but just make sure that there's no big significant brand that's in the same sort of realm as you with that name. You can register your business name yourself on the ABR, or you can get an accountant to do it. And my advice would be to get an accountant at the very start of your business journey. I've had my accountant with me since I was an influencer. Then he was there for when Fate started. And that way you can have your accountant do all these little odd jobs here and there to make sure it's getting done correctly. So they can register the name for you, or you can do it yourself online. Now, if you're thinking this business is going to be the real deal, you can also trademark your business name. Now, when it comes to trademarking, it is not something that is easy, it's not something that is cheap, and it's not something that will happen overnight. You'll submit your trademark application through a website called IP Australia. And fun fact, I only got Fate trademarked, I think, last year. It took me years to get the trademark because sometimes they'll just come back to you and say, well, you need to prove this, you need to prove that. Like, it's a whole thing. Sometimes it'll get approved straight away, and other times you'll spend years going back and forward with IP Australia to get that trademark. But I think it is a good thing to do, especially if you do have that goal that maybe one day this is going to be something big and you want to protect your rights. So after you've got your business name, it's all locked in place. It's officially yours. You own it. You have to pay for it. You're going to want to secure your domain name. If you don't know what a domain is, it's your website. It's your www.fatethelabel.com or .au or /net, whatever it may be. And you need to secure that through a domain host. You can jump onto Google and type in domain host and a bunch will pop up. The one that I use is called GoDaddy. Sounds sus, but you've probably seen the GoDaddy ads on TV. Like, they're everywhere. You jump on there, you create an account, you search your domain. It has to be available. No one else can be using it. And then you buy the rights to own that. And you pay for that every single year. And domains are worth all different prices. You might want a domain that's worth $1,000 a year. Or someone else may have it. You may have the option to buy it off them, and that might cost you thousands. So you'll spend a bit of time finding the right domain. And I hope for your sake that yours is available. Now, once you have your domains, you're going to want to get your emails. My business tip of the week is there's nothing worse than setting up a business, but then your email is fatethelabel@hotmail.com. That straight away says this is not a professional business. You don't want it to be fate@hotmail.com. You want it to be hello@fatethelabel.com. Once you have that domain for your website, that's what you'll then link to your emails. It can never be different. So with us, ours was fatethelabel.com, so all of our email addresses end in fatethelabel.com. We get our emails through Google G Suite, but there are lots of options out there. Now, somewhere amongst all this, you're also going to want to secure your social media handles too. You'll see all these tips I'm giving you kind of all fall on top of one another. They're all kind of in the same category. It's really hard in 2024 to get any kind of original username. Trust me, I've got a lot of businesses and we've struggled. They're all taken. But take your time when it comes to your social handles, and my advice would be try to get the most simplified one that you can. Don't do fate_the_label_brand_123 Try and keep it simplified. I hate underscores, but unfortunately, wait, does our Instagram have it doesn't? I'm getting confirmation. Oh, our TikTok does. Like, sometimes it'll be taken, but try and keep your social handles as simplified as you can because you don't want it to confuse people or be hard to search. And by the way, when you are setting up your social accounts, your TikTok, your Instagram, whatever else you're using, make sure to use your new email address to sign up to those. Don't make the mistake that I have of using random bloody email addresses, because down the track when you forget your password and then you don't know what email you used, you're going to cause problems for yourself. Next step, set up your bank accounts. Don't have all of your money going from your business into your personal account. That will be super messy at tax time. You want to have those separate bank accounts set up so that you keep your money separate. Head on into the bank and set up a new account. I think you can even call up these days, but that's an easy one. Another thing that you're going to set up, are you keeping up with me? Like, this is just the beginning. You're going to set up your PayPal accounts, especially if you're going to have a business that's selling online. Setting up a PayPal account is easy to jump online, but then you have to do a few steps. Over a couple of weeks, PayPal will send you a couple of cents here and there, and then to prove you are who you are, you have to go back to them and say you deposited 6 cents on this day and 3 cents on that day. At the same time, if you're going to be using a third-party payment provider on your website, if you are selling products like Afterpay, ZipPay, any of those things, you're going to want to set up those accounts too. It's getting in touch with them, letting them know about your business, and eventually getting the approval for that. And those things take weeks. All the while you're doing this, you're then going to build your website. This is the fun bit, but it takes a really long time because if you're doing it yourself, you're going to have to learn how to use the platform that you're using. Now, there are so many out there that you can use. I personally use Shopify. It's the #1 e-commerce platform. Shout out to Shopify. Sponsor this pod. There are also others like Squarespace and Wix. I'm sure you've seen them all. It's all about testing them out and finding which one works for you. You're then going to spend months and months building your website, getting it exactly how you want it to look. Now, whilst you're doing all this at the same time, you're going to be creating the branding for your business. And mind you, I thought I would throw in here all these steps that I'm telling you to do. I do them myself. I did them myself and I do it all again. But there are also people that can do this for you. There are people that can build your Shopify website. You can't really get someone else to set up your own bank account, but all these little things, you could get another company to do them for you. But my advice would be do as much of it as you can on your own. Same goes for branding. You're going to want your brand to look the part, right? Again, you can teach yourself how to use programs to make your own logos and branding, or you can hire a graphic designer or any kind of marketing branding company out there. You'll need logos, fonts and colors for all of your website and social media and any signage that you may have down the track. You need all of those branding pieces to look the part. Now, this is where it gets a little messy and it's totally dependent on what you're doing. Let's say you're doing a product-based business like me. During this whole process of doing all these things, you would have also already been working on your product. A lot of people always ask me, hey, who's your manufacturer? And again, like I said in the beginning of this podcast, no one is just going to outright tell you who you need to go through to manufacture your products. Why? Manufacturing products goes so far beyond just telling someone what product you want and paying them to make it happen. It's years and years of relationship building, testing, sampling, trialing, failing, trying again until you find something and you have a relationship that works for you. In particular for me, fashion is extremely particular to work with. Now, if you're wanting to have something made for your business offshore, your #1 place to start looking, if you don't have any industry connections, will be a website called Alibaba. It's essentially a hub where all manufacturers for anything and everything are. You're going to want to get on there, create an account, and start typing in what it is that you're wanting to get made, whether it's packaging, your products, fashion, jewelry, whatever it is. You can search from thousands of manufacturers on there. You're going to want to get on there, start typing in what it is that you want, researching the manufacturers and their factories on there, and trust me, there's thousands. Now, as for me, I don't use Alibaba manufacturer, but that's where most people find their manufacturers. And the thing with manufacturing products is it's not going to be just a one-step process where you find your first manufacturer, they get it right from the get-go and off you go, happy days. As for us with Fate, we've changed manufacturers throughout the years. I've had massive relationships before that have ended and then we've started all over again. But it's not easy. And again, like all things, it takes a lot of time, especially when you're doing something that is a product that you want to get right. You're going to spend hundreds and hundreds, if not a few $1,000s, sampling those first initial products to get them right before you launch them to the market. It's essentially like dating and you have to shop around. Now, as for us, we do have like one main manufacturer that we go through, but I know there are some fashion brands out there that work with a heap, and I'll give you some insight as well if you are wanting to get into fashion. There's a street in Sydney called Kippax Street, and you can go to Kippax Street. You have to be a business, and you'll go down that street and it looks like there is so many clothing shops, but they are wholesale only. Like drive there one day when you're in the city, and it's in Surrey Hills, I believe. And you'll see all these manufacturers. You can go in there and establish relationships with them and you can manufacture products through them. That's where a lot of the brands will go when they first start out. And that's where I went when I first started out. So for any of you wanting to get into fashion, there you go. Go to Kippax Street and make some relationships in there. Manufacturing is so much more than just getting a product made. It's actually more the relationship than the actual product itself. You build that relationship over many years and then the amazing products will come. Now, if you are doing a product-based business, my advice to anyone would be to test your product 1 billion times before putting it out there into the world. Sample it and sample it and sample it again. Give it to your friends. Get everyone to try it out before you launch it. Don't just launch it based on the first sample. Now, it's obviously a completely different ballpark if you're doing a service-based business. Perhaps you're doing something digitally online or even a physical service like beauty or makeup or spray tans, and that's a whole other thing, but Hopefully me giving insights into products has been enough. Let's fast forward. You've done all the above. You've got your products ready to go, all your services ready to go. You have all of your supplies. You have all of your shipping items. You've got your packaging, your labels, your printers, the lot. There's so many little things that you have to have, and I can't tell you exactly what it is that you're going to need because it's going to depend on what you're doing, but you've got all of your things. You've done all the things. Your products have arrived and you're ready to launch into the world. The next thing I think a lot of people may not quite realize is just because you've done all of these things, it doesn't mean you're automatically going to start selling. And just because you've started a business, it doesn't mean you automatically are going to have customers. So how the fuck do you get customers? Now, believe it or not, in some way or another, despite all the hard, bloody work that you've done to get to this stage of your business being ready to launch, this is where the real work begins, even though you've done a year of work or 2 years or 6 months or however long it's been. This is where the real work begins. Now, there's essentially a few ways any brand new business is going to get customers. Number one, you're going to pay to get them through some form of digital advertising. This can be anything from paid ads on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, Google, TikTok, essentially anywhere that you can run digital ads. And believe it or not, for us at Fate, yes, we're this well-known brand. Yes, we have thousands of customers, but I still buy customers every single day. We spend thousands and thousands of dollars per day on our digital ads. At the moment, I think I'm spending around $5,000 a day on our Facebook ads, and that is purely with the objective of getting new customers. You're never going to stop buying your customers. Like, customers don't come to you for free. Now, when it comes to digital ads, again, you can learn how to do these yourself, or you can pay someone, whether it be an individual or a business/marketing company who knows how to set up these for you. My advice here would be to learn how to use these digital ad platforms yourself. It'll take you a lot of time for you to learn them, but it'll save you a lot of money in the long run. And I think as the owner, the more things you know, the more money is going to be in your pocket. Number two, the next way you can get new customers is via influencer marketing, which, being an ex-influencer myself, I can definitely save this topic for an entire episode of its own. I'd love to talk more in depth about that, about influencer marketing for brands. But a great way for you to gain new customers is through influencers. Finding influencers and content creators that align with your brand, reach out to them and ask them how much it will cost to work with them, and have them do some sponsored content for you. Now remember, like all things in life and especially in business, working with influencers doesn't come with a guarantee. But that's business in a nutshell. It's just one huge gamble every single day. The third way that you can get new customers is through your more traditional ways of marketing. TV ads, billboards, newspaper. I'm turned French. Newspapers. Newspaper. Now, for a small startup, I wouldn't recommend these at all, as they're quite old school, they're expensive, and I don't think there's any guarantees. And number 4 would be word of mouth, the oldest trick in the trade. You can let as many people that you know about your business in hopes that they'll shop from you or use your services. But my advice to anyone when starting a business is never, ever rely on your friends and family to be your customers. They always will be in the beginning, and that's great. We love to see the support, but you can't have this brand new business and think your friends and family are going to be the ones that are going to fund it. That is keeping your circle so small. That's keeping your brand so small. You've got to think outside the box when it comes to customers and think beyond your friends and family. So by all means, word of mouth is a great one, but don't rely on it. And 5, you can get new customers organically. Probably one of the hardest skills to master. But if you can figure it out, it's a win, because the only thing that it'll cost you is your time. So how does one organically find customers? What does that even mean? It means getting someone to shop with you when you spent $0. How do you get someone to purchase a product or service from you without spending a single cent? By building a personal brand. And what does personal brand even mean? It's posting yourself as the owner on social media and building a community online. And it's safe to say I've got a bit of experience when it comes to that. Now, as you all know by this point, when I started Fate and I was setting it up in the garage under my house, I completely hid this from my social media out of embarrassment. I was working out of my garage, packing our orders every day, and I never posted a thing. I would go up into my spare bedroom and post stories from there, but when it came to showing me packing orders, I completely hid that. People had no idea that the orders were being packed from my garage. If I could do my time over again, and even if I had no followers, I want to emphasize, especially if I had no followers or no social media following at all, I would have posted content of me doing all of that work from my garage to Instagram and TikTok. Even though TikTok was barely a thing back then, I would have posted it. So if you're new to business and you're going through all of these steps that I've spoken about today, when you create those social media handles, start documenting shit. Set up that camera and film random videos of you doing all the things. Make vlogs. Make little talking videos, explain your frustrations. You could say, hey, I'm starting a small business and today I'm trying to figure out what I want my packaging to look like. Make a little 30-second video out of that. Take your soon-to-be customers on that startup journey with you. These videos don't have to be full-blown productions, just little short snippets into your journey. Oh, but that's embarrassing. No one will watch. I'm too boring. I'm not good at being on camera. How do you think I felt when I first started my YouTube channel with no followers? I felt that exact same way. I wasn't there thinking, I'm amazing, I'm this YouTuber. I was this young girl sitting in my room by myself. I was scared. I didn't have that much confidence, but I just did it anyway. Now, building a personal brand isn't for everyone at all. Not everyone wants to have their face on social media, and that's totally fine. But you can take it from me. Building a personal brand can be one of the most powerful things you will ever do in your business journey. Man, oh man, I've jammed a lot into this episode. Congratulations if you have actually made it this far. Now, in conclusion, starting a business from nothing is a lot of bloody work, a shit ton of your time, and of course, it costs a lot of money. One of the craziest things about all of this is I honestly think starting a business, as hard as it is, it's the easy part. The even harder work starts once you have to keep it going, which we'll save for a future episode. Now, with everything that I've mentioned in this episode, I've obviously said it all in some sort of timeline or format, but I thought I would also mention you don't have to do this in every single step that I've told you. You might do a bunch of them at one point and a bunch of them later. You might do it backwards from the way that I've told you. And again, you can find this kind of information on Google. My advice is, as overwhelming as it can be, take your time when starting your business. Write lists. Go back through this episode and write everything down and check it off as you go. But the most important part when it comes to starting a business is actually just starting. Anyway, my friends, that is Big Business Episode 4 complete. Look at me go. I'm 4 episodes in, and I'm going to be wrapping up today's episode with my tip of the week, which is a simple one and kind of goes with the theme of this episode, which is write your list and tick things off. I never used to be a list girly. I used to just keep everything up in my head. But lists, I know we all use them and love them, but we need to use them even more. Even use ChatGPT to write your lists. You can get ChatGPT to help you with that. Especially if you're starting a business, write that list and slowly tick things off as you go. As always, make sure to please subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on an episode of Big Business. I upload every single Monday, and if you're feeling generous, feel free to give me a 5-star review. Thank you all so much to everyone that has already given me reviews. I saw I've got like a few hundred already. I'm really excited about that. And until next time, my friends, make sure to chase after your dreams as if they owe you money.